In 1945, a farmer in Colorado swung an axe at a chicken's neck and missed the part that was supposed to matter. What he ended up with instead was a chicken that kept walking, kept standing, kept living without a head. Not for a few twitchy seconds, for the next 18 months, long enough to go on tour, get written up in Time magazine, and out earn the farm he came from. That story is real, it's coming, and it is somehow the least biologically insane thing on this list. Because before we get to the chicken, we need to talk about a bug that just shrugs off decapitation for a week and a worm that you can chop into pieces and it remembers things. Ranked from impressive to unsettling to wait, that actually happened. Let's start with the bug you've probably got strong feelings about already. Number 3, the cockroach. Chop the head off a cockroach and biologically speaking, not much changes for a while. It can still stand, it can still walk, it can still react if you poke it. Entomologists who've actually tested this put the survival time at roughly a week. One biologist, testing it directly, sealed the wound with dental wax to stop moisture loss, and some of his headless roaches lasted for weeks afterward, sitting in a jar. Here's why that's even possible. In a mammal, losing your head means losing blood pressure fast. That's what actually kills you. But a cockroach doesn't have blood vessels under pressure the way we do. Its fluid just pools around the organs and the wound clots over almost immediately. No pressure drop, no bleeding out. And here's the part that really breaks the you need a head to breathe assumption. Cockroaches don't breathe through their head at all. They breathe through tiny holes along the sides of their body called spiracles, feeding a network of tubes that pipe oxygen straight to the tissues. Even basic movement doesn't need the head. Each body segment has its own little cluster of nerves handling reflexes, walking, balance, leg cleaning, almost like the head was never in charge of the day-to-day stuff to begin with. So what actually kills it, if not the wound? Thirst. Without a mouth it can't drink, and it slowly dries out through the open wound in its own body surface. And after about a week, dehydration finally shuts the whole system down. So yes, the rumor is basically true. A cockroach can lose its head and keep functioning for days, sometimes weeks, and it just eventually dies of thirst, not decapitation, which honestly might be worse. Number 2 takes this from impressive to actually kind of disturbing. The flatworm, specifically the planarian. Cut a planarian in half and you don't get one dead worm, you get 2 living ones. The half with the tail regrows a brand new head. The half with the head regrows a brand new tail. This isn't a modern discovery either. Biologist Thomas Hunt Morgan ran the defining experiments on this at the turn of the century, right around 1898. He kept cutting planarians into smaller and smaller pieces to find the limit, and the limit, it turns out, is almost absurd. A fragment less than 0.5% of the original worm's body was still enough. That sliver regrew into a complete, fully functional flatworm, head, brain, everything. The reason this works is a population of cells called neoblasts, adult stem cells scattered through the entire body, not just tucked away in one organ. Neoblasts can turn into literally any cell type the worm needs. Brain, gut, skin, muscle, which means almost any piece of the worm carries the full blueprint to rebuild the rest. Regrowing a working head and brain takes roughly 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the worm. Now, here's the part that turns this from a neat biology fact into something genuinely strange. In 2013, researchers at Tufts University trained planarians to do something they don't naturally like, crossing a rough, brightly lit surface to reach food. Trained worms learn to cross faster than untrained ones. Standard learning experiment so far. Then the scientists cut the heads off the trained worms, brain and all, waited 2 weeks for a completely new head and a completely new brain to grow back, and tested them again. The regrown worms still remembered the training, a brand new brain grown from scratch, somehow still held on to a memory the old brain had learned, which suggests some of what we'd call memory might not live only inside the brain itself, which is a deeply unsettling sentence to say out loud about anything with a nervous system. But whatever your mental image of surviving without a head looked like a minute ago, throw it out, because none of it prepares you for what happened on a farm in Colorado in 1945. This is the story we teased at the start. Here's the whole thing. Lloyd Olson ran a farm in Fruita, Colorado, and on September 10th, 1945, his wife asked him to prepare a chicken for supper. Her mother was coming to visit. Olson picked out a 5.5-month-old rooster and did what farmers had done to that bird's ancestors for thousands of years. He swung the axe and missed just enough. The blow took off most of the head and one ear, but it missed the jugular vein and left the brain stem at the base of the skull largely untouched. In a bird, the brainstem is doing almost all the heavy lifting anyway, breathing, heart rate, balance, the parts you actually die without. So instead of collapsing, the rooster stood back up, walked around the yard, tried to peck at the ground, out of habit with nothing left to peck with. A blood clot sealed the wound fast enough that he didn't bleed out either. The same lucky mechanical accident that keeps the cockroach alive, just on a much bigger, much stranger scale. Olson was too stunned to finish what he'd started. He put the bird in an old box for the night, planning to check on him in the morning. The rooster was still alive and acting by every visible measure completely normal. They named him Mike. Keeping Mike alive took actual daily work. Olson fed him with an eyedropper, milk and water straight down the open esophagus, along with small bits of grain. And several times a day, he'd clear built-up mucus from Mike's throat with a syringe, since Mike had no head left to do it himself. Word got out. Fast. Olson realized what he had and started touring Mike at carnivals and sideshows. 25 cents a look, sometimes drawing crowds in the hundreds per day. At his peak, Mike was reportedly pulling in around $4,500 a month for the family in the mid-1940s. From a chicken with no head, he made Life magazine, he made Time magazine, he got insured for around $10,000, which adjusted for today is well into six figures. Depending how you do the math, this headless chicken was, for a while, out earning a lot of the humans who came to go see him. It didn't last forever, though. In March of 1947, while on tour, Mike started choking on built-up mucus overnight in a motel room in Phoenix, Arizona. The syringe they used to clear his throat had been left behind at the last venue. With no way to clear his airway, Mike suffocated. 18 months after the axe missed. Fruita never really let him go, either. The town still holds an annual Mike the Headless Chicken Festival every May. There's a 5K run, an egg toss, a game of pin the head on the chicken, and a whole lot of chicken-themed puns. Mike still holds the world record for longest surviving headless chicken, which is somehow an actual category. So what do a bug, a worm, and a chicken actually have in common here? None of them needed their head anywhere near as much as we assume a head is needed. The cockroach spreads its basic control across its whole body. The chicken keeps its most critical functions low, near the base of the skull, not up in the part that looks in charge. And the flatworm goes even further, suggesting that some of what makes an animal itself might not live in one fragile structure at all. We tend to treat the head as the control center, the one part you absolutely cannot lose. Turns out, for a surprising number of animals, that's more of a guideline than a rule. Mike the Headless Chicken lived a year and a half, toured the country, and made more money than plenty of people do with a fully intact head. So next time someone tells you that you can't get ahead without using your head, you now have one extremely specific, extremely real counterexample. Just maybe keep your syringe closer than Mike's owner did,